Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going in depth into my top 3 wide receivers to avoid for the 2023 fantasy football season. Now, I want you guys to look at this from a preliminary point of view, right? The NFL draft has not happened yet. It is still late March. There are still free agents that are looking to sign with teams, right? Where's Odell going to go? Is Rodgers going to get traded? Where's Lamar going? We are going to see as things go on the changes that are going to happen. So this is an early look into things right now. Things are going to change from now all the way up until late August or early September when you do your 2023 fantasy football draft. So before we do a deep dive into 3 wide receivers I'm looking to avoid in fantasy football drafts as of right now, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. If you want to follow me on Twitter and you don't already, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into my top 3 wide receivers to avoid for your 2023 fantasy football drafts. Again, important to note as of right now. So we begin at number 1. This player at the wide receiver position is being drafted earliest in fantasy football drafts right now based upon underdog average draft position. That is Deebo Samuel of the San Francisco 49ers, ADP wide receiver number 16 at pick 33. He was the wide receiver 37.5 PPR last year in 2022, and the wide receiver 25.5 PPR points per game, tied with Saints wide receiver Chris Olave. Playing in 13 games on the season with 12 starts, he had 95 targets, 7.3 per game, 37th at wide receiver, 56 receptions, 4.3 per game, 47th, 632 receiving yards, 48.6 per game, 49th, 5 total touchdowns, 29th, and 42 carries for 232 yards. Now, for most wide receivers, we don't even bake carries into the equation, right? Because most wide receivers aren't going to get 30 plus carries in a given season. Deebo, again, 42 carries for 232 yards. So some efficiency stats for Deebo last year. He had only a 35.4% route win rate, which ranks 82nd at the wide receiver position, 1.57 target separation, ranking 75th, and he had a 75.7% true catch rate, which divides total receptions by total catchable targets, 88th at wide receiver. And much of the reason towards a humongous downward spiral for Deebo Samuel, because if we remember in 2021, Deebo Samuel was on top of the world. Deebo Samuel was dominating defenses, 50 Shades of Grey style. This guy was going balls deep in defenses. And the reason why we saw much of a fall off wasn't necessarily because he wasn't getting as many targets or he looked significantly worse. I think he did, based upon the efficiency stats, play worse. But it wasn't like he went from this premier top-end wide receiver to looking bad. It was just due to a large touchdown regression compared to 2021. So in 2022, 2 receiving touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns, which is, if you do the math, quick maths, 5 total touchdowns. In 2021, he had 6 receiving touchdowns, which is more than he had receiving and rushing in 2022. Plus, he had 8 rushing touchdowns, which is 14 total. He almost scored triple the amount of touchdowns in 2021 as he did in 2022. So if he's not able to score those touchdowns in 2023, we're probably going to end up with Deebo being, say, wide receiver 24, wide receiver 20. And based upon where we're drafting Deebo Samuel as wide receiver 16, that's a little bit gross. And the quarterback situation in San Francisco might make you want to plug your nose, Patrick Beverley style. I think Trey Lance should be and will be the starter in week 1. But could it be big cock Brock Purdy? Possible. And talks from Shanahan seems like maybe Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold might be the starting quarterback in week 1. What? So again, while I think it's going to be Trey Lance, how sold are we on Trey Lance as a passer? I'm not very sold on him as a passer. He's sick. He can run the ball, do all these crazy things. He's like Sam Darnold on mono, right? Real sick with that. He's good. He's a good runner. But is he this elite passer? I don't think so. And this is a team where I know some people say, Nick, it is idiotic. Nick, you can't be saying too many cooks in the kitchen. That's stupid. This is a scenario where it legitimately makes sense. There is only one football, and this is a team with Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, and Christian McCaffrey. So again, unless this guy scores an absorbent amount of touchdowns, I don't think he's going to end up as a top 12 wide receiver, which makes me disgusted to draft him at his ADP of wide receiver number 16. Now, again, does this guy have the skill set to absolutely kick me in the mouth and make me look like a fucking idiot? Yes, he does. He is that skilled of a player. But when you put the situation with so many great players around him, when you figure out that the quarterback situation is pretty meh, it all adds up, sugar, spice, and everything nice, into a scenario where I want to stay clear away of Deebo Samuel right now. Again, based off of current ADP, I don't want anyone to think that I think Deebo Samuel is magically just a bad or washed receiver. I don't think that's the case. Just don't love the situation. At number 2, we move a little bit deeper into the draft. George Pickens of the Pittsburgh Steelers, ADP wide receiver 36 on Underdog, pick 66.7. If you guys want to get into the fun on Underdog Fantasy, they're a best ball website there where I do a majority of my best ball drafts. If you're brand new on there, if you deposit $100, they will give you an additional $100, which is a first match deposit bonus. If you don't want to deposit $100, you just want to try it out a little bit, go ahead and deposit $25. They'll give you an additional $25. So it's a 100% first match deposit bonus up to $100. Again, I don't advertise on anything that I don't actually use or that I don't actually enjoy. So I do genuinely enjoy Underdog Fantasy. So make sure you guys do check that out. Link in the video description. I do drafts on there all the time. They're on my channel if you want to check them out. So wide receiver 36.5 PPR in 2022 for George Pickens. Wide receiver 49.5 PPR points per game. Playing in 17 games on the year, but he was only given 12 starts, which makes a decent amount of sense. Rookies aren't going to be getting 17 starts typically at the wide receiver position or even the running back position to start off their career. 85 targets, especially when you're getting drafted where George Pickens got drafted, right? If you're like a top 5 pick, you're the second coming of Calvin Johnson or Randy Moss, sure, maybe you'll play 17 games, or start 17 games. You get what I'm saying. 85 targets on the year, 5 per game, 48th. 52 receptions, 3.1 per game, 49th. 801 receiving yards, 47.1 per game, 35th. And 5 total touchdowns, 29th at wide receiver. Now, again, George Pickens is another player that is very fun to watch, right? Your eyes ejaculate when this guy makes these crazy catches, right? He has a 57.1% contested catch rate, 13th at wide receiver. He makes these phenomenal plays. Some people even said that one of the catches he made this season, I'm sure, or last season, I'm sure if you just think in your head, you say, oh, George Pickens catches, and you your brain starts spinning, the little hamster wheel in your brain starts spinning. You remember what I'm talking about, that one-handed snag. People are saying that's better than the Odell catch. I don't think so, but, it is what it is, right? The guy makes spectacular catches. But with Deontay Johnson still there and small hands Kenny Pickett at the helm of the team, do I really believe that a guy who I don't think is going to be seeing 125 targets, because Deontay's there and they have Pat Freiermuth, and their offensive coordinator is a bit of a stooge, do I really think that George Pickens is going to get enough volume to be able to succeed? No. Some efficiency stats to sprinkle in here. 75.4% true catch rate, 89th. 1.35 target separation, 94th. 0.32 fantasy points per route run, 63rd. 33.3% route win rate, 91st. Now, again, I'm not just trying to nitpick stats to shit on the chest of George Pickens, right? He also had a 29.2% dominator rating, which is a receiver's percentage of total team receiving yards and team receiving touchdowns, 16th at wide receiver. So he was dominant for what he was given. But again, do I believe that George Pickens is going to become the wide receiver 1 on the Pittsburgh Steelers if him and Deontay Johnson stay healthy? The answer is no. Now again, Deontay Johnson had an awful year. I was banging the drum last year for Deontay Johnson. I've been a big fan of Deontay Johnson since he entered the NFL. But I'm not having any bias here. I genuinely don't think George Pickens is that kind of a player that will become the alpha, the big dog on this offense. And again, I think Kenny Pickett really isn't that good. Could he be better than he was in his rookie year? I would assume so, right? Normally, that's what happens. These players get better as their career goes along. But I don't think Kenny Pickett's all that great. And this Steelers offense isn't really sexy. I don't expect this Steelers offense to be like a top 12, top 16 offense in the NFL. I just don't really see that. So that limits George Pickens heavily, especially if he's not the number one target on the team. So again, all in all, to summarize, in conclusion, as they say, when you're writing a fucking paper MLA style, George Pickens is a good player. He makes fun catches. He's fun to watch. I enjoy watching him. But in terms of a wide receiver that I want on my fantasy team, I would much rather draft someone going around that range who's going to see more volume and who doesn't rely on those crazy catches to get fantasy points. And I don't see his touchdowns going from 5 to fucking 12 to really cement him inside the top 24. So right now, I am staying away from George Pickens. But again, things could happen. Knock on wood, we don't root for injuries. Deontay Johnson could get hurt. And then boom, George Pickens is amazing. So that's just kind of my thoughts on Pickens. Let me know down below what you guys think about these receivers. Final receiver to talk about here, Gabe Davis, wide receiver of the Buffalo Bills, wide receiver 40, current ADP pick 77.2. I was a Gabe Davis truther in 2022. I got down on my knees and gave this guy the metaphorical gawk 9000. I loved Gabe Davis, but sadly, Gabe Davis didn't reciprocate the affection that I showed to him metaphorically via how much I loved him in my videos. Wide receiver 27.5 PPR in 2022, wide receiver 35.5 PPR points per game, 15 games played in the season with 15 starts, 92 targets, 6.1 per game, 42nd, 48 receptions, 3.2 per game, 52nd, 836 receiving yards, 55.7 per game, 30th, and his numbers were boosted by the fact that he scored 7 total touchdowns, 14th at wide receiver. In terms of some stats for him, 6.51 target quality rating, 12th at wide receiver. So it's not like Josh Allen was throwing dimes to Stephon Diggs and then the dude turned into Steve V. Wonder when he was trying to throw the ball to Gabe Davis, right? He was still getting accurate passes thrown his way. He had 2.03 target separation, 24th at wide receiver. Pretty solid, right? We all know Gabe Davis is a fast twitch motherfucker. 8 drops, 8.7% rate, 7th at wide receiver, and a 37.4% route win rate, 74th at wide receiver. Now, do I believe that the Buffalo Bills are magically falling off the edge of the earth like what Christopher Columbus believed would happen if you sailed too far? The answer is no. I don't think the Bills are going to fall off. I think the Bills are still going to be a great team. As a Dolphins fan, I hope the Dolphins take a shit on the chest. I say that a lot of the Buffalo Bills. I hate the Buffalo Bills as a Dolphins fan, right? But again, when I talk fantasy football, there is no bias. Just because I love the Dolphins, I can acknowledge that the Bills are a really good team. The Bills are one of the top 5, maybe even top 3 favorites based upon the Vegas sports books to win the Super Bowl. So the Bills are a really good team. But my issue is Gabe Davis really the locked and loaded number 2 wide receiver on the Buffalo Bills? Is he really? Is he really? I don't think so. Like, is he locked into that role? Could they start the season he's the number 2 receiver? Yes, obviously. But would anyone be shocked if the Bills draft a wide receiver that ends up surpassing Gabe Davis? Would anyone be shocked if Khalil Make That Ass Shakir was the number 2 receiver? Would anyone be shocked if Trent Sherfield took some targets away from Gabe Davis? No, I wouldn't be. So again, Gabe Davis is a good player. He shows up in the playoffs. I watched him against my Dolphins. He's a good player. He's fast. Lightning McQueen. The dude's fast as fuck. But he doesn't have the production to show me that he's worth this pick. Now, could he have 3 games next year where if you drafted him and you left him on your bench because he sucked ass all the other games, you're like, shit, I should have played Gabe Davis. Yeah. He's probably going to have 2 or 3 games where he scores 20 plus points. He gets an 80-yard touchdown. Maybe even week 1 that'll happen. And people be like, Nick, you stupid motherfucker. You told me to avoid Gabe Davis. And he scored a touchdown. He scored 90 yards in week 1. Sure. And then you're going to be sitting there with your thumb up your ass and this guy in your lineup for weeks, and he does nothing. He takes a nap like he's fucking Snorlax the Pokemon, okay? And then a couple weeks later, he'll pop up like your cock in the morning, and he'll have a great game again. And then he will disappear, Houdini, and people will be shocked when this happens. That's exactly what happened last year. Don't be shocked when that happens. Now, again, I understand Gabe Davis is fun. He has the speed. He's on the team with Josh Allen, who has this fucking monster arm, right? Like Quagmire when he's stuck in the house for a bunch of days in that not the South Park episode, in that Family Guy episode, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. Big arm Quagmire. Look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. So, look, again, I like the Bills. I don't like the Bills, but I think the Bills are a good team. Really good team. I think Gabe Davis is a skilled enough player. But I don't see any consistency there. And if I'm picking Gabe Davis, again, wide receiver 40, is a guy that's probably, for some people who load up on running backs early and take a quarterback early or a tight end, this guy might be your wide receiver 1. He might be, Nick, that's crazy. Okay, then he's your wide receiver 2. That doesn't look great. Taking 4 points every couple of weeks, that's not great. And to further drive the point home, I'm not looking for the most consistent player, right? 10 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, like averaging a fucking triple-double every game. You're not going to get that at pick 77, pick 80, pick 85, wherever Gabe Davis goes. ADP 77.2. But I'm looking for someone who I feel confident can have those bomb games more than like twice or 3 times a season. And I think you can find that around that range. And I don't think Gabe Davis is that guy. So come back here in December when they don't draft a receiver, when Gabe Davis just has a phenomenal year, like I thought he would last year, and I look like a buffoon. Or you can come back in January, be like, wow, Nick is a genius. So thank you guys for watching. I love you guys all so much deep down in my heart. I think we've uploaded every single day this week. Today is Thursday. I think we had to upload Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Going to go for the 5 in a row. 5 for 5. No, it's 4 for 4 like at Wendy's, but now it's like the $5 biggie bag. Wendy's, man, falling off, but I love you guys. Wendy's, if you want to sponsor me, though, you didn't fall off, man. You're the best. I love you. Love all of you guys. Genuinely deep down in my heart. I hope you guys all have a great guys' day. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Today is opening day for baseball. I'm rocking my Mets hat. In today's video, it was backwards. Let's go Mets, baby. Fins up as well. Go Dolphins. I love you guys. I hope you have a great guys' day. And as always, good boy.